Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monzi. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in May. So in May I read a total of 5 books and I had the absolute best reading month that I've had in a long while. So I'm just super excited to talk about all the books because I would recommend every single book in this video. The first book that I picked up is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is a really good example of not judging a book by its cover. I have always had a very strong aversion to hot pink. I don't like to look at it. I don't like to wear it. I just don't like to interact with it in any way. And so when Happy Place was released, I was kind of like, I'm not gonna read that, even though I have enjoyed every single other Emily Henry book I've read. I've never given any of her books 5 stars. I've always given them like a 3.5 to 4 stars. They're just really nice, easy reads, and they have a little bit of depth to them for romance books. But when Happy Place came out, I felt like it wasn't received as well as her first 3 books. And so I was like, I'm just not gonna read it. I don't like the cover. People aren't really raving about it in the same way that they've raved about her other books. But then in the last few months, I have actually seen a few videos where people have rated this on their like top favorite books ever. And I started to learn a little bit more about the premise. And I heard that it was about a group of friends who were gathering for their annual trip to Maine. And I just so happened to be traveling in 2 weeks to Portland, Maine to visit my 2 closest childhood friends. And so I don't know, it just felt like the right timing for me to pick this book up, and it piqued my interest a little bit more just because I was about to do something very similar. And I'm just so glad that I picked it up because this is a new all-time favorite. So like I said, in this book, there's a group of college besties that meet up every single year for this annual trip to a cottage in Maine. And 2 of the friends in this group, Harriet and Wynne, have been together for like 8 years. However, at the start of this book, they've been broken up for 6 months, but they haven't felt comfortable for different reasons sharing it with the rest of their friends. And so when they end up going on their trip, they fake date. So there's the fake dating trope, and then there's also the second chance romance trope in this book. Usually I'm not like the biggest fan of fake dating because it doesn't seem super realistic to me, but the way that Emily Henry did the fake dating trope in this book made so much sense to me. I feel like I understand why Wynne and Harriet were waiting to tell their friends that they had broken up, because when you tell your loved ones about something that has happened to you, when you speak it into existence, it's almost like it finalizes that event and you have to come to accept it. And it just seemed like Harriet and Wynne were putting that off for as long as possible, and I felt that, like I've been in that position before. And so there's that romance, obviously, and you get to go back in time and see moments where Harriet and Wynne were first connecting, and that was really sweet, and you get to see how they handle the situation now that they're not together, but they have to pretend that they're together. But my favorite part of the book was 100% the friendships, the long distance friendships, the banter that they had with each other, the details that they noticed about each other, the way that they loved each person and celebrated each person's individuality. It was so tender. It was so heartwarming. By the end of the book, I was really missing all of my friends who do not live close by to me, and I think that that's what made me adore this book so much. There's also a lot about self-discovery and grief and just like growing over time and how people change as the years go by. And I just thought this book was fantastic. 5 stars. There is no world in which this book does not end up on my best books of the year list. The next book that I read, I actually listened to. It's a memoir. It's called Somebody's Daughter by Ashley Ford. I was going on a 4-hour long drive and I just wanted something to listen to, and typically for audiobooks, I am drawn to memoirs or nonfiction. And so I was kind of searching for memoirs that were available through the library immediately, and this book showed up. I had not really heard anything about it. I don't know who Ashley Ford is, and so I read the blurb on the back of the book. Not on the back of the book, but the blurb on Goodreads. And the blurb describes this memoir as a coming of age story, but kind of emphasizes Ashley's relationship with with her incarcerated father as she's growing up. And I read that and I was like, oh yeah, definitely, I want to read this. I want to hear about this. The book was great. The writing was excellent. Ashley is an amazing writer. Some of the sentences that she strung together were just like chef's kiss, so good. I really enjoyed listening to her narrate the story as well. Her voice was just so soulful, so soothing. It was really calming to me, and I really enjoyed her narration. I really enjoyed hearing about her upbringing. I think the only thing that was missing for me is that I went into it with the expectation that we were going to get a lot more about her father, and there was just very little on that relationship. Still really enjoyed it and would definitely recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. I then, for whatever reason, decided that I wanted to listen to another memoir, and so I picked up Wild: From Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail by Cheryl Strayed. This book was super hyped about 10 years ago when it first came out, and I haven't really heard people talking about it since. But I'm a really avid hiker. I really enjoy backpacking, and I just thought it would be interesting to listen to someone talk about their experience on the PCT. It was something that I wanted to do at some point, and I still want to do some sort of through hike at some point in my life, not necessarily the PCT, but just any through hike really. So I thought that this would be fun. I thought that this would be interesting. I thought that I would enjoy the outdoorsy aspects, and I certainly did. Cheryl writes about her experience deciding to go on this excursion without having had any backpacking experience in her life. This woman had not even done one night of backpacking and decided to go onto the PCT entirely on her own. And so the book kind of flops back and forth between her on the trail and her going back in time and telling you about her experiences that led her to make this decision for herself. And it was just so fun. It was so adventurous. It was so fun hearing about the trail. It was so fun getting little tidbits of her history and just sort of all of the difficulties that she had faced in her life that kind of made her want to challenge herself in this way. I really enjoyed it. I think that if you like hiking, if you like adventure, if you like anything that involves any sort of endurance training, that you would probably really enjoy listening or reading this book. Then I picked up my first Brandon Sanderson book, and I decided to choose Mistborn: The Final Empire. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. I think that there are also multiple eras of Mistborn, which is part of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. I don't have much to say about that. I'm still learning about it myself, but it seems like all of his books take place in this one giant universe, and they're all like loosely connected to one another, which is a really cool concept. I find it quite difficult to explain the premise of fantasy books, but basically this is a rebellion story about a group of oppressed people rising against the dictator in this world, the Lord Ruler. A team of thieves in the underworld gather together and they devise a plan to overthrow the Lord Ruler. We have Kelsier and Vin. Kelsier is a seasoned Mistborn, which is someone who can exercise allomancy, which is like the main magic system in this world. And then we have Vin, who is one of the slaves in this world, and Kelsier takes Vin under his wing to teach her how to be a Mistborn because she also has these innate magical powers. There's really great world building in this book. The magic system is super creative. There are really nice action sequences in this book that were pretty riveting. I would say that this book is neither extremely fast-paced and also it's not slow-paced. It's very medium-paced, which was kind of nice. Like, I wasn't super gripped from the beginning, but I also wasn't bored while I was getting my footing in the world. So that was kind of a nice balance. I thought the ending was great. It kind of wraps everything up to where you could read this book as a standalone, but there are a few little loose ends that would compel someone to pick up the second and third book in the trilogy as well. I thought this was great. I really enjoyed myself. I read it over the course of like 2 weeks and slowly drank in the story and just had a really good time with it. I don't quite know what I want to rate it, but I'm thinking somewhere between like a 4 and a 4.5. And I will definitely be picking up the second book. I already placed it on hold through Libby, but it has like a 12-week wait, so who knows when I'm gonna get it. And that brings me to the last book that I read last month, which is Ejaculate Responsibly: A Whole New Way to Think About Abortion by Gabrielle Blair. This book, I love this book. I am obsessed with this book. I think this should be required reading for everyone. Everyone has something to learn. Everyone has something to gain. This is a super, super quick read. I basically read it in one sitting with a little bit of a break, but if you have 2 hours to spare, you will be able to finish this book. What Gabrielle Blair does is she presents us with 28 arguments for why men should be held responsible for unwanted pregnancies. I ate this book up. I thought it was so compelling, and I urge you to read it. I don't buy books, but I immediately after finishing this one went and purchased it so that I can return to it over and over again. I also want my partner to read it. I've talked to my best friend about reading it so that we can buddy read it together and rant together. And I just think it's freaking amazing. Another book that will be on my best books of 2024 list, for sure. So yeah, started off the month with a bang, ended the month with a bang. It was just an amazing reading month, and it felt so good. We're pleased. Let me know down below what your favorite book in the month of May was that you read. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned as well. And I think that I will be going. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.